Hello, everyone. We are from the Boise State Writing Project in Boise, Idaho, and we are excited to share some resources with you from our Building a More Perfect Union project entitled DBI Squared, which stands for Democracy Building Instruction Through Document-Based Inquiries. So we wanted to start off with some introductions. So Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Wilhelm, and I'm the director of the Boise State Writing Project and the founding director of the Maine Writing Project. And I'm very pleased to have been doing this project with Jackie and Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Lloyd. I am currently a teacher in the Boise School District as well as co-director for the DBI Squared Institute.
And I'm Jackie Miller, one of the co-directors of our DBI Squared Institute, and I currently teach teachers at Boise State. And we are really excited to share what it means for us to build a more perfect union with all of you. So our question is, what's a word or phrase that comes to mind when you think of building a more perfect union? What about you, Jeff?
I'm thinking deep listening and respectful conversation is necessary to building a more perfect union.
Awesome. What about you, Amanda?
Creating change to benefit all.
Thank you. And when I think about building a more perfect union, I think about how we are better together. So thinking about how we can come together for the common good. So our project, as I said, was entitled DBI Squared, Democracy Building Instruction Through Document-Based Inquiries. And we brought together about 30 Idaho educators for a summer institute in which we learned about how to create units of instruction and a special type of inquiry lesson called document-based inquiries for teaching contended issues in America today, as well as throughout history. So educators in our institute really thought deeply about how we teach through and for democracy within the context of their own disciplines, and then created units and lessons that they could go forth and teach to their students. So we're going to start with sharing a few resources that we put together for you. So the first one is we created 3 one-pagers, or you might call them 2-pagers, they're front to back, where you might use these as resources that could help you in your own planning for your own classrooms or contexts. So the first one here is a 2-pager on the dispositions of democracy. So through this work, we did research on the attitudes, mindsets, and capacities that promote the full flourishing of human beings and our community as a whole. And we put together this pager that has 16 dispositions we believe are necessary for creating and perpetuating our American democracy. So you can see that on our one, we have divided these into kind of 4 sections and a mental model that helps us think about how we teach through and for democracy. So when we are teaching through and for democracy, we believe that we must first know more about ourselves. And that has to do with dispositions like being mindful of ourselves as well as those around us, also being able to recognize both unconscious bias or implicit bias. And then from there, we can, once we have a deeper understanding and awareness of ourselves, we can build our worldview. And we do that by engaging in civic discourse, by engaging in critical reading and news literacy, and also by evaluating evidence and the authority of sources. And as we build our worldview, we know that the reality is that we will encounter ideas and insights and ideologies that might challenge our worldview. So some of the dispositions associated with that are honoring diverse perspectives and also fostering curiosity and openness for all people and ideas. And then ultimately, we hope that this leads us and our learners to be able to take action, to be able to promote community and the common good, to celebrate uncertainty, to develop and cultivate their own and our collective resilience as a community, and then ultimately to advance equity and social justice. So these are the dispositions of democracy that we were thinking deeply about in our institute. Now I'm going to pass it off to Jeff, who's going to help us think a little bit more about how we helped teachers embed these dispositions in their instruction.
So it was very important to us that we promote a vision and theory of teaching that was transformational for teachers and for students. And this is very much in contrast to what's often done in American schools, which is authoritative teaching, which Martin Haberman calls a pedagogy of poverty that actually keeps kids at their current state of capacity and in their current socioeconomic status. So we wanted to do something that was very transformational. And we use research from across the learning sciences to come up with this mental model of empowered transformational teaching that matches what Haberman and Fred Newman and George Hillocks and many other researchers have shown actually builds kids' fullest capacity and allows them to enhance their life chances. So when you look at this research from across the learning sciences, you can boil it down into this mental model of empower, which is envision, map, prime, orient, walk through, extend and explore, and reflect. When you envision, this is off stage, and what you're doing is you're thinking about what are my major goals. So you can see this is very consistent with understanding by design, with Systems Connect, with SIOP or VESTED if you teach multi-language, English language learners. So this is very much backwards planning where you start with the end in mind, where you start with the threshold knowledge that's going to take kids through a gateway to a totally new way of engaging, knowing, thinking, and doing. Then you have to map things out. You have to figure out where are the kids, where do they need to be, and what's a sequence of activities that could take me or help take them from where they are to where they need to be. And you also need to consider at this point, what's a mental model or map for the major kind of task they're going to be asked to do. That's off stage. Then you move on stage, and this is the sequence of learning events. How do you prime them for the learning? In other words, how do you activate what they already know and already care about, which really are the only resources you have to teach them something new? And along with this, how do you orient them to the purpose and the payoff? Because no one does the difficult task of learning, particularly about contended issues that might really challenge their worldview unless they see the purpose and the payoff in the immediate and in the future to them. Here's the crux move of the apprenticeship, which is the walk through and extend. This is where you actually model for kids a new way of doing things, one of those dispositions of democracy, for instance, and then you mentor them. You've done it for them. Now they're starting to do it with you. Then they start to do it with each other. And then they do it by themselves. So there's this modeling, mentoring, and monitoring the for, with, by, that gradual release of responsibility. And this is the linchpin of the apprenticeship, of helping kids develop new capacities. Then you need to ask them to extend and explore their learning. Without this, transfer won't occur. They need to think about new situations in their own life and perhaps in school where they could apply what they've learned. And throughout, you're always reflecting, naming what you know, how you know it, what you're still struggling with, what you need to do to move forward. And reflecting is like clicking save. If you don't do it, you lose what you've learned. So we use this model to great effect to help kids or help the teachers develop transformational instruction for their students. Here's a little summary and why it's so important, which is every step is essential, because if you don't envision your teaching and the students' learning will be aimless. If you don't map out the sequence of steps that need to be taken, you'll be overwhelmed, and so will the students. If you don't prime them, they'll be disconnected to the new learning. If you don't orient them, they'll be unmotivated. If you don't give the walkthrough, they'll be unskilled. If you don't extend and explore, they'll remain unchallenged. They won't develop the necessary knowledge to transfer what they've learned to new situations. And if they don't reflect, then they remain independent. By the way, Jackie and I have written a couple of books about the Empower model called Planning Powerful Instruction, one for elementary school, one for high school, middle school, and high school. And we also have developed an online course, which is for free. You could use it for professional development or to teach your own course or workshops. It has tons of resources on it about Empower, and you can scan that QR code there to access it. So we welcome you to make use of it.
Thanks so much, Jeff. So we use the Empower Mental model to help our teachers plan out a unit of instruction around a contended issue in American history or America today. And now Amanda's going to talk to us a little bit about the document-based inquiry and how we use that with our teachers.
So what you're looking at now is a one-pager for the document-based inquiry that is meant to help teachers sort of plan out their own document-based inquiry. We used this as part of their unit design. It was normally a lesson or a piece within their larger unit. So a document-based inquiry is a multi-phased inquiry strategy in which learners socially construct their knowledge around an inquiry topic. In each phase, learners look at a variety of texts that provide different perspectives on the topic, and they notice and wonder about these texts. The phases, there can be 1, 2, 3, there could be 4. It depends on how you design it. But knowing that as students progress through the phases, their knowledge is deepening. So learners build that deeper understanding through the phases and generate their own inquiries to pursue on the topic. Through this DBI experience, learners engage in reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and enhance their knowledge of the content that is the focus for the DBI. We also have on this one pager like ways that you can structure your DBIs, kind of going from, it could be like really concrete ideas through the phases to becoming more abstract. It can be really big picture to kind of zoomed in, different perspectives, or doing like what, why, and how. So there's many ways that you can kind of look through those DBIs and structure them, but essentially it's just that multi-phase approach to a topic.
Thanks, Amanda. And last but not least, we want to share with you the amazing resources that our educators created during the DBI Squared Institute. So we have put together a website for you to use, and it is shown here, but you can also find it by Googling empowering your teacher teaching toward a more perfect union. And you will find our website, which has all of the resources that our teachers developed. So there's a homepage that talks a little bit more about our project, as well as the dispositions of democracy. And there's also a page that shares a little bit more about the actual process we went through within the Institute. So you're welcome to check out those resources. But even more importantly, we want to share with you the resources created by our teachers. So you see these pages listed at the top. We have the units of instruction created by our teachers. And they are divided into elementary, middle school, high school, and then post-secondary units. So we have examples from every level created by our teachers, and we invite you to check out both the unit plans, but then we've linked to the document-based inquiries that were a part of those units as well, so that you can see the link between those resources. Then we have a page on document-based inquiries. Again, these are divided by elementary, middle school, high school, and then also ones for adult learning or that you might use in professional development settings if you happen to be a consultant or somebody who leads professional development. Each of these is an inquiry lesson plan that allows students to really dig into a topic of interest. And then we also, in our DEI Institute, partnered with an organization called Narrative 4, which is a global organization that is committed to helping people share their stories and also to help people develop empathy and compassion through the power of story exchanges. So if you want to learn a little bit more about story exchanges, we encourage you to check out Narrative 4. They're an amazing organization that is international. And then we've also included a variety of different story exchanges that our teachers have developed and employed within their own classrooms. And then we have a whole section of our website that is devoted to the dispositions of democracy. So there's a page that says educator resources. And on this page, you see the 16 dispositions of democracy. And each of these dispositions, if you click on them, will take you to a subpage that has a variety of resources that could be created by educators or might be websites that educators have found to be incredibly helpful in their own teaching. And so we've kind of organized these resources based on those dispositions, and we are continuing to add to these resources to this day. So you can check in now, but you could also check back later and find additional resources as well. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're going to just talk a little bit more about kind of the implications of our project. So we do hope that you will check out our one-pagers and also check out our website. The one-pagers are on the website. So if you find the website, you'll find all of the resources that we shared today, as well as all of the units, document-based inquiries, and educator resources that our teachers put together for you. And we just hope that you will check out the resources, consider what might be applicable to your particular context, and feel free to use them directly or adapt them. But also we hope that you will share them with your colleagues and encourage your colleagues to check out our Towards a More Perfect Union website as well. So we just wanted to share, lastly, a few implications of the DBI Squared Institute and what we learned through this process and working with educators to do this work and to create these resources. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to share a little bit about that.
I've got two major points to make. First of all, research into why teachers stay in teaching is because it helps them to meet their deepest values, hopes, and commitments. And that was something we really discovered in this institute, that the teachers value democracy. They value promoting democracy. They value working toward a common good. And that was something that this institute helped them to do and to realize. Another is that we're living obviously in a time of great challenge. It's true in individual classrooms. Every kid we teach needs what we're selling, but also in the wider culture. Anybody who reads the newspaper knows how deeply contended our democracy and at what risk the democracy is. And education is the antidote to all challenges to democracy and democratic life or individual thriving or communal life of any kind. I'm reminded that Milton wrote in Areopagitica that truth was never bested by a bad argument unless the arguments were not made. And one of the things that we were committed to in this institute was looking respectfully at every point of view around these contended issues and then deciding where we would land and letting the kids decide where they would land based on the evidence and based on their deep values and hopes and commitments. John Dewey, at the end of his career, said that he could summarize his career with the statement that democracy is conversation. And what we did in this institute was put ideas and text and documents in conversation with each other for the purpose of seeing what would most help our democracy to thrive and what would most help us as individuals and groups to survive. John Dewey in Democracy in Education also said that democracy is complementarity. It's different people with diverse backgrounds and interests and values working together on a common project. And that common project is our communal democratic life. So those are all things we worked for. It was deeply inspiring to do the work, and it was deeply inspiring to see what the teachers and then what their students did as a result.
Absolutely. And we thank you all for partnering with us in empowering our teaching toward a more perfect union. And we hope that the resources created by educators here in Idaho will be helpful and help you in creating a more perfect union in your own classroom and beyond. So we wish you all the best as you go forth and do this good work. Thanks so much.